we find ourselves looking into a forest of round-leaf teak. Now, I'm not sure if you're able to see what we can see through there, but it just goes to show you the incredible camouflage of Africa's largest mammal, in fact the world's largest land mammal. So we're going to move a little bit forward through here. I'm going to ask Andrew to pan out slightly and just look over the tops of these round-leaf teak bushes and see if you can see the grey shapes of a herd of elephant moving through here. And I'm going to be quiet for another 5 seconds and you can hear how quiet they are. Almost completely invisible and totally soundless. There are also a couple of buffalo looking at us from the other side, wondering what we're doing. We're going to try and follow through to the elephants and see if we can't get a better view of them. Hold on, Andrew. Moving on. Remove your dentures. Okay, now this is a very thick block. It's full of these round-leaf teak trees, which the elephants love at this time of year. And I don't want to make too much noise, so I'm not sure how close we're going to be able to get at this stage. There you can see some off to the left there. I'm sure they've just been drinking at the waterhole we were going to. Youngster through there, Andrew, that's quite a nice view. Let's try and get around the light. I don't want to harass them too much. I know that elephants can get a little bit nervous of vehicles. You can see the little one is charging through the bush a little bit nervously. We are going to follow gently behind and hope they go into a sort of more open area. There are the buffalo. Yet again, another huge bachelor herd of buffalo, which is very unusual. Not for Juma. It's very difficult to sneak through vegetation like this in the Land Rover. Not much sneaking possible. For those of you who haven't been to Africa, elephants also have a beautifully distinct smell. It's almost indescribable. It's quite sweet. It's a little bit like a horse, I suppose. But without the sweat. They don't sweat. They're being very tolerant of that, I must say. I'm being particularly noisy. Sorry, chaps. I'll just get to the other end of this termite mound and stop there. See if we can't get a decent view from there. See one over the termite mound? Can you see that, Andrew? Nice cow there. There we go. She's feeding on the bark of the tree. Right. That's a bit better. Now you can hear them moving through the bush. There's one off to our right, but the majority of the herd off to our left where Andrew is pointing the camera. You can see that piece of branch that was chewed off, cleaned of bark and then dropped, and I'm hoping she'll do the same. Look, she's doing the same again now. That's a bush willow tree, a red bush willow. Isn't that great how she breaks it with her trunk and her tusks? And now she'll feed it through those huge molars in the back of her mouth. And she'll get 5 sets of those molars during her life. And after the last one is ground down to the gums, she'll eventually starve to death. But that will happen only in many, many years' time from now. I'm saying she as if that I know that's a cow. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to have a quick look. Now, from the angle of the head, I would say that that's probably a young bull. I can't see anything else other than that at this stage. The bulls tend to have rounder heads than the cows. And just from the fact that this elephant is on the fringes of the herd as opposed to with it, would indicate that he's a young bull, possibly about 13 years old. And will spend increasing amounts of time on the fringes of the herd rather than in the middle of it. The dexterity of that trunk never ceases to amaze me. Got 2 little hands on either side of the nostrils that make it totally prehensile. And you can see here totally how, without elephants, the vegetation structure would be completely different in an area like this. Try and listen to the crunch as it comes through the teeth there. Just hear him rolling it around in the teeth. I'm not sure if you can hear that. You can see that prehensile tip to the tusk, to the trunk. He's decided he's had enough of us. With that wonderful sight of his bottom moving away. Something very comical about an elephant's back end. Can you go again with that? You're just going to turn around, or not turn around, move forward a bit. Pennsylvania, while we're driving through here, you've asked, what is bush tea? Thank you for your question. I am assuming there are a few different kinds of plants you can make tea out of here. One of them, or the most common in where we're sitting now, is called Combretum herreriense, or the russet bush willow. But there's another one that Brent likes very much called the fever tea, which is called Lippia javanica, and that grows mainly on, it's a sort of herb that grows mainly in the drainage lines. Hold on, Andrew. Holding on. Sorry about that. impala here. We've just got an impala in the middle of the herd, and they've totally ignored him, which is great if you're an impala, I suppose. Let's carry on. I don't know why he's on his own. Pamela on Twitter, thank you very much for your question. You'd like to know why it is, or is it possible for an elephant to choke on his food? I suppose it could be possible. They do push a lot into their mouths at one time, but normally they're quite selective about it, so I think it's unlikely. You know, it's not a sort of solid lump of meat like you and I might choke on. It's a fairly kind of well-chewed bolus, if you like, so it's not very solid. No structure to it once it's been chewed. Yeah, seems to have mounted a log. No, it was a termite mound. These Land Rovers really do work rather hard. Out there, Andrew. Michigan. You seem to think that elephants have 6 and not 5 sets of teeth in their lives. Joanne, I'm not going to tell you wrong, because it's a while since I've read up on it, so you may well be correct. I will check and get back to you, and thank you for pointing that out. Right, let me try and get round the front of them now. Really not nice for them. And then we'll get a better view as they cross the road, perhaps. Hold on, Andrew.
Holding on.
Whoa! No. She's not very happy. I'm not sure if you heard her, the matriarch giving a signal there. And push this one over, Andrew. I think we'll go around that one. There we go. There's a whole lot more in front of us there. Don't think we're too far from a road. It will give us a bit of a clearer view. About this. Pity they're not standing in this clearing here.
As they are to
see, there's a road in front of us. I think they're going to cross that road eventually. So we're going to go out onto it and then make our way slowly back towards the herd so that we don't make make so much noise behind them. They really don't like it when you do that. They're very tolerant otherwise, pretty intolerant when we make a big noise around them. Andrew?
Negative.
Should be off on our right hand side just about now. Push on out here. Taking us further and further away. I'm just going to stop and listen here, see if we can hear them. I can just hear them moving through the bush there. Very light rustling of the leaves and the twigs against their skins, which I'm not sure you can hear yet. So we'll drive up here and see if we can't pick them up again. Where their tracks came onto the reserve this afternoon, and they often will follow the same path to and from water. Pretty sure they came on to have a drink and then they'll head off somewhere else. Have another listen here. All I can hear now is flies. We could have just followed them through here, but we were starting to make a real noise and they really don't like that. And we really want to try and encourage their trust of us rather than make them afraid.
Negative.
Right, while we wait for the elephants to come out here, I'm just going to answer a question. Andrew, you keep your ears and eyes peeled, will you? Jacqueline in Georgia, you ask a fascinating question. You want to know why it is that elephants, or are elephants bothered by ticks? And if so, why is it that the oxpeckers don't go for them? And the answer is, yes, I think they are bothered by ticks to a certain extent, but probably less than rhino or buffalo or the smaller antelope, because their skins are so thick. And so it's difficult for the ticks to get through the skin and, get to the blood. but they don't seem to tolerate oxpeckers. It's fascinating. Oxpeckers, they do periodically try and land on elephants, but they've even now learnt that elephants just simply won't tolerate them, which is fascinating. So that's why we don't see oxpeckers on elephants. And I also think that I've definitely seen far fewer ticks on elephants than I have on anything else. Good question. Thank you. I'm not hearing them yet. You might not see them again, I'm afraid. But it was much better than smashing after them like that. It's a bit different after wild dog. Don't take any notice. Not so nice when little baby elephants are getting upset. It's quite an extensive block, this. Just behind us. Have one more listen and then pack it in. This is deathly silent, but for the odd fly. Right, well what we'll do is we'll go back down the similar road that we were on and head to the water hole, and the elephants might pop out in front of us, but otherwise it was a wonderful sighting. So keep your eyes peeled to the left. Ginny on Twitter, you ask a good question. Is the skin on a rhino or a hippo thinner than that on an elephant? I believe it is slightly thinner. Certainly the hippo's got a far greater layer of blubber under the skin, but the skin certainly has a greater number of blood vessels closer to the surface than it does on an elephant. Rhino they certainly get wounds from ticks, which I haven't seen on elephants, so I'm going to assume that the skin is probably slightly thinner, or that there's more vascular tissue close to the surface of the skin. This, of course, seems to be the worst road in all of Djuma. That was Andrew's head you heard making contact with the branch there. Sorry about that, Andrew. That's okay. Andrew has spotted them. He's a bit of a hawkeye, this camera chap. Okay, we're going to wait here. They seem to be heading in this direction. Andrew, can you still see any of them? No. Try and get a direction of movement, and then we're going to wait for them to pop out. There's one. There. Get in there. See you there? Yes. There they are. I think they're generally making their way in this direction. So we'll just follow them along the road here and see if they don't pop out. Again, like I say, I find it very disconcerting when they start running and sticking their tails out in front of us because they're nervous or they're feeling uncomfortable. So let's just, sorry about the camera there, let's just wait here. and they come to us rather than the other way around. Hello Heidi in Zurich, thank you for your question. It's a good one. Will an elephant die if its trunk is severely injured? The answer is it depends on the severity of the injury, first of all. And secondly, to say it would have to be pretty catastrophic for that to cause the death of an elephant. There's an elephant around here, a cow, who has missing the bottom third or quarter or third of her trunk. So she's lost the prehensile tip, but she's still healthy and fine. So it will be more difficult for her to eat. She'll have to put a lot more effort into the eating, and maybe that might knock a few years off her life at the end of it. But generally they can survive pretty well, especially with the protection afforded by the rest of the herd. Roll a little bit down the road here. See if Andrew can't get another view. There they are. You can see them all in there now. You got them there, Andrew?
Quite thick here.
It is very thick, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. I didn't plant the trees there. Now they're very contentedly feeding now. I think this is the same herd that I saw the other night, or we saw the other night, and they were quite, the temporal glands on all of them were streaming, indicating some level of stress, but today they seem to be completely dry, and so whatever was worrying them before has clearly stopped. They're making their way slowly in this direction. There's one there. You see that one, Andrew? I mean, that's a 4.5-ton cow that I've just seen walking through there. And Andrew's pointing the camera exactly at her. And it's almost impossible to see her coming. There you can see her. Look how brilliant the color grey is to be out here. And the first thing you see, perhaps, is the tusks, the whiteness of the tusks. Just back up a bit. We're on a fairly horrendous road here. The herd is definitely coming slowly this way. So we're just going to, it's very tempting to drive off road and see if we can't get a better view. But I think we'll be rewarded quite nicely if we just allow them to come slowly towards us. You want me to move, Andrew?
No, we're good, yeah.
That's fine. Definitely slowly coming this way. So as I've said before, elephants are very, I know a lot of the textbooks will tell you that animals don't feel emotion and they can't be sentient and they're just not very, they're animals really. What separates them from us is our ability to feel emotion. Well, in the case of the elephant, and anybody who's got a dog or a cat knows that's not true, but especially in the case of an elephant, their behavior is not that difficult to read once you know what you're looking for, but they definitely send you signals that are that are pretty obvious to read once you've spent some time with them. They can tell you if they are feeling unhappy, if they're feeling stressed, if they're feeling relaxed. Now, I would say that this herd of elephants they're fine, but they're definitely a little bit wary of us. I mean, I've been around elephants that have surrounded the car and just taken no notice at all. And these ones are definitely watching us. You saw the way that cow there in front of us turned and lifted her head and lifted her ears out at us, just to say, hang on a second, we're not that sure about you, so you wait there. And I mean, chances are, if we went bungling into the bush there and crashed through a whole lot of trees, they'd turn around and run away. But there's always the possibility that they could do the opposite, which is not going to end well for Andrew and I. I can just hear the deep rumble of probably the matriarch giving them some sort of signal. They'll be communicating all the time. Apparently the females, or the cows, have, I think the total number is about 40 different kinds of identified sounds. Now these are the ones that are within human hearing. The bulls have only about 12, I think. So it's a bit like with human beings. And they're in constant communication, these cows. They're rumbling at each other. They're watching each other, they're smelling each other all the time. It's a very close-knit society. Now, I'm always interested when people refer to elephant families. We tend to anthropomorphize animals out here. I mean, I do it myself. But it's important to know that the nuclear family is an entirely human construct. And no animals out here, in fact, have such a thing. So this is a matriarchal herd of closely related females and their babies. And then the bulls, young bulls like the one we saw, will eventually leave the herd. Well, he'll be chased out by the matriarch when he starts getting a bit uppity, like a teenage boy. And he'll go and live on his own with a whole lot of other little younger bulls, and possibly with one old bull looking after them or watching over them and disciplining them. And then they'll join the herds again, only for mating. So they play no role in parental care. That's a nice shot there. Did you hear that? Sounded like a baboon in there, but it definitely wasn't. It went, bah! I'm not sure what kind of an elephant communication sound that is. And you can see them feeding on her. Here they come. They really are now starting to reward us for our patience. Smelling. That when they flip their trunks up like that, they're sniffing the air and they're having a very good look at us. Not very happy with us at all. You let her come a little bit closer. And try and gain her trust. If she comes too much closer than that, I'm going to get out of the way, I'm afraid. You're giving a slight indication to me of unhappiness and discontent. Just hear them rumbling now. I can just hear a rumble. Well, I'm going to move out of her way. I don't want to create a scene here. See how when I started the vehicle, she's now at the point where she she's any closer, starting the vehicle would result, it sounds like a challenge to them. Stuck on a bit of a rock. So you need to be careful when you start the vehicle so that she doesn't feel like it's a challenge when you're starting the car, the big noise and the roar at the end. I'm just going to give her some space and see what she does. There's another one coming up here, and I'm going to leave that one there. I think it's a young bull, actually. Did you see the protuberance? Yeah, it might be a young bull. The young bulls often sort of show displeasure like that, of just testing their strength. There's a much more relaxed one. There we go. If that is a young bull, he's very close to being an adult. This one's just having fun. He's a teenager. Scratching himself on the tree. Oh, that's really special to see. And just much more trusting of us than the other one was. The other one is still watching us very carefully. Can you hear that? The wonderful sound of the hard skin scraping against that tree. And it's not the first time that bits of bark from that tree have been scraped right off. Showing us how big and strong he is. Your first lesson in elephant behavior is when they turn around and spray their ears out like that. They're saying, look how big I am, and watch out. Unfortunately, in his case, he was a bit young to be particularly terrifying. And then, so the youngsters will move off like that. But the bigger one there in front didn't do that at all. And he's still deciding whether we're a threat or not. Little one coming up just behind the one Andrew's on now. The one coming into picture now that you can see the, she's kind of moved. Very square head, obviously a female, and also obviously pregnant. She's got a real swelling on her belly. Always comes to the side in an elephant. It doesn't sort of hang below like it does on a wild dog, for example. Yeah, no, she's quite heavily pregnant. You can see that swelling that's just catching the light now. Beautiful colours on these round-leaf teaks as they walk through here, juxtaposed with the grey. That's really very pretty indeed. Right, I'm not going to move at the moment. That upset fellow is just in front of us. I suspect that he would turn and run and make a big noise, but I don't want to do that. I want his experience the next time he sees people to be one of the that builds the relationship that we've tried to start building today. And just like human beings, elephants will have very different kinds of personalities. Some will be completely relaxed around us, some will be absolutely terrified of us, some will be just nasty. I've very seldom found that to be the case. Look at the wonderful colours there. Early winter colours. They've now gone totally silent. Just the odd footfall, and now they're starting to move. They're going to come across the road here. Look at the colours there. Oh, wow. Isn't that beautiful? Stunning. Now look, the matriarch's obviously given the order, let's go. They became totally silent, stood still, stood to attention, and she obviously said, right, let's go, and they've all moved as one. It's just amazing. We're going to try and push across to there is one road parallel to this. We'll see if we can't catch the herd going across that. Again, I don't want to make too much noise. It's not easy in this Land Rover. With a little one coming across. Andrew, we're going to go blasting across here. Herd for this area. Average sort of 20 or 25 animals in this area, often smaller. Stop up here on the crest. So let's just wait here. They're going to come across the road. They're starting to in front of us, and then they'll be in the northern reserve, and we'll go and see what else we can find, because they won't be on Juma anymore. There they come, starting to cross the road. I'll try and sneak a little bit closer. I don't want to push the boundaries too much with them. Keeping an eye out for that slightly ornery one. There he is. He's coming to the left. There, they're all coming now. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Look at the colour on them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's great. Little ones quickly rushing across. This is a very big herd of elephants for this area. That's wonderful. There's the slightly ornery one there, not even giving us a second glance. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at the dust where it's catching the light. Now, making this quite difficult for Andrew by moving, but just want to see if we can't get a nice close view of the back markers. wish you could smell them from where you're sitting. It's just such a lovely smell. No other animal smells like that at all. So it's very difficult to describe to you. Sort of a bit like sweet leather. Not sure how else to describe it. You'll have to come out here and smell it for yourself one day. So I think as they disappear off into the north, we are going to go back towards the waterhole that we saw earlier, or we tried to get to earlier before we found them, and see what else has popped up there. And while we're doing that, we're going to cross over to Scott and see what he's doing. I hope you enjoyed these elephants. I really had a wonderful time with them.